Jason Kander served as Secretary of State for Missouri from 2013 to 2017. He's also on the board of the Gifford Center to Prevent Gun Violence. He's from Kansas City, a veteran of the Afghanistan war, and he joins me tonight. Jason, it's great to have you on. I'm sorry it's under these circumstances. First, just how are folks there? How are you processing this awful mix of joy and celebration and civic pride ending on this horrible note?
Yeah, heartbreaking is not enough. Probably like a lot of people watching right now, it's stunning when you actually stop as an American and think about how many people you know personally who've either been the victims of or at least at the scene of mass shootings. And for me, it's quite a few. And that's before today. And this is not that big of a town. I promise you. In fact, I've already sadly heard from some people that for me, this list it's going to be bigger. And I think that's just increasingly true for so many people watching right now.
You're someone who you served in Afghanistan. You had a sort of iconic ad in which you assembled an assault rifle blindfolded or not looking at the weapon, but then talked about your views on weapons. You're on the board of Giffords. Missouri is a state that's been, almost a leader, a forefront, I would say, in the kind of, gun absolutist movement. Do you think today changes that at all?
Probably not, sadly, but I think that has more to do with the way that this debate has been framed in this country. It's been very successfully framed by gun manufacturers as it's been falsely framed. It's been framed as a debate. And look, we don't know what weapon was used. We don't know motive. We don't know any of that stuff. I'm not talking about today. I'm on because today happened and I'm just pissed off. And so I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the fact that they frame this debate as people like me who believe in gun safety versus people who own guns. But I also own a gun, and I don't think that's what's really going on in this country. I think this is between Americans and greedy corporations. They always talk about the Second Amendment, but nobody ever talks about the fact that in 2005, they passed a law that infringes on the Seventh Amendment, which nobody ever hears about. The Seventh Amendment is the amendment to the U.S. Constitution that says if you have in controversy in any matter more than $20, you have a right to a civil jury trial. Well, in 2005, we passed this law. George W. Bush signed it. It's called PLACA. It's the something Lawful Commerce and Arms Act, Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms. It's just a fancy way of saying that they gave the gun industry a kind of immunity that nobody who makes literally any other product in this country gets. You know how there's like less smoking than there was so many years ago? It's not because of Congress, it's because of lawsuits. That's the reason my car and your car doesn't flip over on the road, because of lawsuits. That's why truckers have to get a certain amount of sleep before they get on the road. Congress didn't do that stuff. Lawsuits did that stuff, and everybody likes to demonize them. But when 12 reasonable people can come together, called a jury, and make a decision about what's reasonable in their community, oftentimes they're going to decide, as they started to in the 90s, that gun companies actually can foresee a lot of damage being done and that they can look into who's buying these guns. Now, gun companies, by the way, have they have the ability to make guns smart guns. Most illegal gun crime happens with stolen guns. If smart gun technology were out there, which is never going to get mandated by Congress, you wouldn't have this happen. But if you don't have to change a bunch of laws. If you just remove literally like the dumbest law we have on the books, the gun industry is going to police itself. They're going to be begging us to police them because of the liability they're going to have. So that's what I think about, in addition to the people in my community who have been hurt. But this is the governmental side of what I think about on a day like today. It makes me very angry.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about this, when you see these images, right, of course, the danger of just this object, right, and it being out there. I mean, there's all sorts of ways, all sorts of things. There's all the security, there's safety. You got police officers, you got areas taped off. You don't want cars going there, right? There's all sorts of ways in which the space is protected and regulated. And yet this one device, which is a particularly deadly and dangerous device, and we have more of them in our country than anywhere else, is going to end up at a scene like that, as we're seeing now. And the aftermath of it will be predictable. And we have to find some way of attacking that. And I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, thank you. What they do is they try and overwhelm us with the difficulty of the problem. They say over and over again, like on assault weapons, they say, well, how are you going to define what an assault weapon is? Which is a stupid question, but let's pretend it's not for a second, right? Or they'll say, well, how are you going to, they'll say, well, this crime or that crime was committed with a gun that was already illegal. It was illegal for them to have a gun. Oh, and then you say, well, should we perhaps pass smart gun technology and require it? They say, well, how are you going to define that? Well, the answer is you just let juries do it over and over and over again. And pretty soon, the gun companies, here's what they're going to do. I promise you, not only are they going to do all these things on their own to avoid losing their butt in court all the time, they're going to end up making a ton of money because they'll start gun insurance, side companies, subsidiaries. And then you know what you'll have? You'll have a registry of guns because they can't create a need for gun insurance if they don't know everybody who owns their guns. So they're going to make plenty of money if we do it the other way. They don't want to do anything difficult. So all we got to do is get rid of one stupid law, and a whole lot of the things that we need in order to keep people safe in this country are going to happen.
Jason Kander, a proud son of Kansas City, and great to have you on. I'm sorry it's under these circumstances. Great to see you, though, sir.
Thanks, Chris.